Restoring a flooded basement. Hello everyone. I'm here to guide you through the process of restoring a flooded basement. Facing a flooded basement can be overwhelming, but with the right knowledge and prompt action, you can restore your space to its former glory and likely prevent future damage. This video is for general awareness purposes. It is not a substitute for licensed contractors and professionals. We advise you to work wisely with licensed contractors. Before we begin, I'd like to make sure you're aware of the resources available when you dial 211 on your phone. Throughout the country, the 211 number is staffed by people from United Way, which is a large charitable organization providing referrals to help people with needs. For most populated areas, 211 has information for resources such as food, housing, medical help, transportation, and many other needs. 211 can also help you find local government offices to help you with questions and situations. During and following emergencies or extreme weather events, 211 can connect you with resources like Red Cross, Salvation Army, Samaritan's Purse, and volunteer organizations. During these widespread events, volunteers come from large churches and other organizations in and outside of the area and provide free recovery help. Many large churches have emergency response teams with trailers and equipment. Health issues. Before we dive into the initial cleanout process, it's important to understand the potential health risks associated with mold and sewer contamination. Black mold can start growing within 24 to 48 hours of a flood, and exposure to black mold spores can lead to several health issues such as respiratory problems, allergic reactions, and even serious fungus infections in the lungs. One of the first signs of a fungus infection is a small dry cough every few minutes. Nothing comes up, just a tickle or urge to cough. Other symptoms can include headache, stomach problems, intestinal problems, rashes, and disturbed sleeping. The presence of mold spores also brings issues like asthma and frequent colds and flu. Mold spores act as an allergen that decreases the immune system. If you have any of these symptoms and you have been around mold, you should consider seeing a doctor and letting them know about your mold exposure. These symptoms are treated differently if caused by mold. Mold causes fungus infection. Whereas most regular colds and flu are virus or bacterial infections, since most houses are closed up tight during the winter, the problem is made worse. If you have central air conditioning, consider blocking off air vents to and from the basement to prevent circulation of the contamination into the main house. Additionally, sewage backup can introduce harmful bacteria, viruses, and parasites into your basement. Exposure to these contaminants can cause severe health problems such as gastrointestinal issues, skin infections, and bacterial respiratory infections. Help from friends. Many homeowners do not have background or experience with maintaining or working on houses. If you are not comfortable doing the manual labor or not comfortable directing contractors in this process, we recommend you speak with a friend or relative that has some experience with doing home maintenance. Ask them to walk along with you as you go through the process. They don't need to do the work, but they can be at your side to guide you as you deal with contractors and make decisions. Initial cleanout. As we start the initial cleanout, the first step is to shut off the electrical power and gas supply to your basement. Locate the main electrical panel and switch off the breakers related to the basement. If you are unsure which breakers to switch off, it's best to seek professional assistance. Additionally, turn off the main gas valve to prevent any potential leaks. Also, open windows to get fresh air into the area and to allow contaminated air to be expelled. Consider a fan to blow contaminated air out of a window, while fresh air comes in another window. Also, portable lights powered by rechargeable batteries will be useful. Find them at Walmart. As you begin work in this contaminated environment, it is absolutely essential that you put on a disposable protective covering and have kitchen gloves, goggles, and boots. You also must have on a respirator-type mask. After you get the water down to a manageable level, you may want to remove the large furniture items. Divide salvageable items from non-salvageable ones and take pictures to document the damage and the lost items for insurance purposes. Also, at the end of the year, these items may be deductible as loss on your income taxes. If any padded furniture, mattresses, or bedding touch the floodwater, they must be discarded because mold will grow in the padding. Next, remove the standing water from the basement. Utilize floor drains, pumps, or wet-dry vacuums to extract the water. Use floor squeegees to move water towards the floor drains or pumps. Eliminate as much water as you can. Proper waste disposal is important during the clean-out process. Contact your local waste management services to ensure that you are following the correct disposal methods for construction debris and other damaged items. Also call the 211 United Way number for referrals and guidance. They can connect you with resources for help and questions. Removal of drywall. After the initial water removal, the next step is removing the damaged drywall. Even 1/2 inch of floodwater in a basement can be very damaging. If the water touches the bottom of drywall, it is soaked up into the drywall like a sponge. It's almost certain that mold will begin growing behind the drywall and will often show on the front. It will continue to grow up the inside of the wall, even if the outside is cleaned or sanitized. If the drywall is not removed, the house can become unlivable due to the contamination. People will get sick. Removing the drywall will probably eliminate a lot of mold. It will also slow new mold growth by allowing the area behind the wall to dry. Additionally, you will be able to evaluate the conditions behind the walls. When removing drywall, consider removing the bottom 4 feet so it can be replaced with standard 4-foot wide drywall sheets. This will make installation easier and minimize the need for additional cuts. If you increase the removal to 4 feet and 1 inch, there is an additional advantage. When replacing the wall section, you can raise it up 1 inch off the floor. This will give an extra margin of safety if you get a small amount of water on the floor in the future. If it is less than 1 inch, it won't touch the bottom of the drywall. Also consider replacing the drywall with wainscot PVC plastic panels instead of drywall. If the basement is flooded again in the future, the panels can be easily removed, cleaned and replaced, saving a lot of time, mess, and expense. These plastic panels are more expensive than drywall, but they may be a good investment. If you choose to use the plastic panels, get the thicker panels so they will be more rigid and not be wavy. They can be applied without any screws if you put a 1 inch by 2 inch painted wood strip overlapping the new plastic panel and the pre-existing drywall above. This is often called a chair rail. You can attach the wood strip with screws into the wall studs every 16 inches. When you put the baseboard in place, it will hold the bottom part of the panel. Leaving the screws visible makes them easy to remove if the problem happens again. Now, let's talk about actually removing the drywall. First, using a chalk line, mark a cutting line along the walls. At a minimum, this line needs to be at least 12 to 24 inches above the waterline or above the visible signs of damage. Before cutting the wall, first slide a strong magnet along the line to locate and remove any drywall screws in the way. Small niobium magnets can be obtained at supply stores like Home Depot. As you start cutting the drywall, use a white handkerchief or Kleenex and wipe it behind the wall above the cuts you are making. If you see black smudges, then you will need to cut the wall even higher because the mold has been growing upward behind the wall. You may decide to go with the 4-foot 1 inch suggestion mentioned earlier. To cut the drywall, you can use a heavy-duty utility knife. Don't use the utility knives that break off for a new cutting edge. They break easily and cannot withstand pressure. There's a strong chance of being hurt. Carefully cut along the marked line and remove the damaged drywall in manageable sections. A mini 3 or 4 inch circular saw will make the job go much faster. You can set the depth to match the drywall. A rechargeable version will be much easier to handle. By the way, any electrical outlets which got wet must be replaced. They will corrode and can cause fires in the future. Check with an electrician and with your city building department. Walls and floors. After you finish removing the walls and the insulation, you will have a mess to clean up. After that, sanitizing the walls and floors is the next essential step to remove and prevent mold growth and to ensure a safe, healthy environment. Let's dive into the steps for effective sanitization. The first step is to prepare a sanitizing solution. If you choose to use bleach, it is important to remember not to exceed 2 cups of bleach per gallon of water. If your basement has limited ventilation to the outdoors, we suggest you use only 1 cup of bleach so there will be less odor to breathe. That is still enough to do the job. Also, avoid mixing bleach with soap. Some soaps cause bleach to release toxic chlorine gas, which can permanently damage your lungs. Once the solution is prepared, put on protective clothing, gloves, boots, respirator and goggles before applying the solution and scrubbing the affected surfaces. On the walls where the drywall was removed, use a large scrub brush with small bristles to hold more water. Use one that has a long handle. Dip it into the tub of sanitizing solution and scrub the walls and the studs. You will be killing the mold on the surface and also removing the residue. As you scrub, wash down areas with a hose with a sprayer, direct the water into the drain, or use a shop vac. Mold on surfaces has to build up several layers before it becomes visible. So don't assume because an area looks clean that it does not have mold. Pay special attention to any visible mold. In general, if you see mold on floors or walls, you can count on there being even more mold on the backside of the flooring or drywall. In those areas, the flooring or drywall needs to be replaced. Flooded carpet always must be removed. The contaminated groundwater will start mold in the carpet and padding very quickly. If you see brown stains on walls or ceilings, the stain is likely from the paper on either side of the drywall and is not dangerous in itself. Before you decide to repaint the wall, make sure it is completely dry. Use a moisture meter to test it. You can get an inexpensive moisture meter at a home supply store. Choose one that has a meter display and two pointed prongs that you stick into the wood or drywall. Also, it would be good to inspect the other side of that wall or ceiling section if possible, to make sure there is no mold. If you can't inspect the backside, consider cutting a square out and using a tissue wipe of the backside to look for a black mold smudge. Do the test low on walls, because that is where the water and mold would be most likely to start. Then if it looks clean, you can replace the square you removed. Before you paint over brown stains, be sure to first use a shellac product like Kilz as a preparation. It will keep the stain from coming through the final paint coat again. For floors, you can use a mop to sanitize. Bleach will kill mold, but it's important that the mold actually be removed by scrubbing action and rinsing. Mold does not grow on concrete very well, but it grows easily on painted surfaces, including painted concrete floors or walls. After you are done with the scrubbing, do a final rinse, allow a day or two for the basement to dry out. Then it is recommended that you do an additional operation on the area that was behind the wall sections that were removed. As a precaution, obtain a special liquid treatment for use inside the home. It is generally called mildewcide and can be found at supply stores like Home Depot. You need something that has residual action and will continue killing mold. The liquid mildewcide can be applied with a garden pump sprayer. Let it dry for about a week before replacing the insulation and the drywall or plastic panel on the wall. Before replacing the insulation and the wall covering, it is suggested that you test the dryness of the wall studs and framework with a moisture meter. You can compare the dryness measurement to other areas which have not been damaged or washed. Make sure the basement is well ventilated during the process. While drying, consider using dehumidifiers and fans. Basement appliances and systems. Flooding also affects appliances, such as washers and dryers. Even a few inches of water will be likely to damage your washer and dryer. The machines may appear to operate okay initially after the flooding, only to fail a few months later, or even a year or more. The later failures can include sparks, smoke, and fires. The problem is with the contents of the floodwater. In these machines, the motors, switches, connectors and wiring are located low in the machines. The floodwater contains salt, magnesium, calcium, and other minerals from the groundwater. These minerals corrode the copper in electrical wire connections, switches, relays, circuit boards, and motors. This corrosion builds up over time. If your appliances were in floodwater, even if only a couple of inches and even if they are still working, they should be checked by an appliance technician. If water touched wiring, switches, connectors, or the motor, consider replacing those parts, though the cost may be greater than the cost of a new machine. Over months and years, corrosion will continue to grow and the machines will probably fail. The failure may be catastrophic. The same applies to motors and wiring in forced central air heating systems, radiator hot water heating systems, and hot water heaters. For gas hot water heaters, if the burner area gets wet, it needs to be inspected by a licensed contractor. It may need to be repaired or replaced to avoid a later explosion caused by a malfunction in the gas regulator controls due to corrosion. It is not worth taking risks. Be safe. Working with contractors. Finding and working effectively with contractors is an important aspect of any restoration project. Let's discuss a few guidelines to help you navigate this process smoothly. To begin with, Google Maps can be a useful tool in locating and evaluating various tradespeople. Start by searching for a handyman in your area. Look for contractors with positive reviews and ratings greater than 4.5. Especially study negative reviews. Watch for bad reviews which indicate the contractor is difficult to work with or abusive. You need a contractor you can work with on a cooperative basis. Take the time to read through customer testimonials and gather information about the contractor's expertise, experience, and reliability. When working with contractors, it's generally recommended not to pay any substantial deposits up front. While some contractors may request a small amount as a commitment, it's advisable to avoid paying a large deposit. Instead, tell the contractor you want to start with $200 to $300 and then pay in steps as the work is completed. Ask the contractor to order materials and then you, the homeowner, pay for the materials directly to the suppliers. This will ensure transparency and control over the quality and cost. Also, if you need to change contractors, you will own the materials, and there will be no need to chase the previous contractor for your deposit. If the contractor is not willing to start without a big deposit, find another contractor, because this contractor is likely to take advantage of you. Before finalizing any contract, make sure to address the issue of workers' compensation insurance. Contractors should have proper coverage for both themselves and their workers. This will protect you from legal liabilities in case of accidents or injuries during the project. Ask for their proof of insurance page. Then call the insurance company which carries the workers' comp. Make sure the insurance is still in force. Also note the names of employees covered in the policy, and make sure they are the only people who come to work on your house. Contractors are notorious for hiring people for temporary jobs and not putting them into their workers' comp coverage. If someone is hurt working on your house and they are not covered by workers' comp, it is likely they will hire an attorney and start a lawsuit. Since the contractor is probably an LLC company, they hold no significant assets in the company itself. The attorney will probably sue the homeowner and sue for very large dollars. It is a prudent step to safeguard yourself from potential liability claims and lawsuits. Check the coverage with their insurance company and make sure only workers listed in the coverage show up to the work site. Single-person companies often do not have workmen's compensation. You can work with them by paying them through a payroll agency or a temporary help company, which you can find using Google Maps online. The payroll agency will add workmen's compensation, which will increase the cost of the job. If you find workers through a temporary labor company, they will be covered by workmen's comp insurance. Communication is key when working with contractors. Clearly communicate your expectations and desired outcomes before the project begins. It's essential to have a written agreement or contract in place that clearly outlines the project's scope, timeline, costs, and any other relevant details. This will help avoid misunderstandings and disputes down the line. Regular progress updates and open lines of communication with your contractor will ensure that the project stays on track and any issues are addressed promptly. Don't hesitate to ask questions or seek clarification if something is unclear, or if you have any concerns during the restoration process. It's also valuable to obtain multiple quotes from different contractors to compare prices, services, and timelines. While cost is an important consideration, be cautious of extremely low bids as they may indicate subpar workmanship or the use of inferior materials. Quality should never be compromised for the sake of saving a few dollars. Remember, due diligence and thorough research are essential when selecting and working with contractors. Taking these precautions will help ensure a smoother and more successful restoration process. Prevention measures. There are effective prevention measures for blocking sewer backup from drains, toilets, and sinks. We will also review methods for prevention of water entry from several other sources. By implementing these strategies, homeowners can safeguard their basements against potential damage and ensure peace of mind. The risk of basement flooding can be greatly minimized or even eliminated. For sewer backup through floor drains, a readily available solution is the installation of a backup preventer in the floor drains. This inexpensive device acts as a one-way valve, allowing water to flow down but preventing it from coming back up. The backup preventer consists of a rubber ring compressed inside the drain pipe. It is held in place by tightening screws around a metal ring. A float within the device rises when water tries to come up, closing off the drain and preventing water from flowing into the basement. Proper installation and regular maintenance are essential for its effective functioning. This includes checking for debris and ensuring free movement of the metal rod and spring. These inexpensive devices can be obtained online and at home center stores. To prevent sewer backup through sink drains, homeowners can replace a section of the drain pipe with a PVC ball valve where it enters the wall. This valve has an on-off position, allowing the homeowner to block the drain when flooding danger is imminent. By simply switching the valve off, the flow of water is prevented from entering the basement through the sink drain. Ball-type valves are much less likely to be clogged by hair or other materials over time. Small drains such as shower or tub drains can be temporarily plugged using a special plug with a crank that expands it to tightly close the drain. Sewer backup through toilet bowls can be prevented using a solid foam rubber exercise ball 2 inches larger than the toilet drain hole inside the bowl. Also needed will be a 2-inch heavy schedule PVC pipe section long enough to reach from the rubber ball to the ceiling, plus 2 inches. Prior to a potential flooding event, shut off the water supply to the toilet, flush the toilet, and drop the rubber ball to the bottom of the bowl. One end of the PVC tubing is then pressed down on the top of the rubber ball to squash it against the hole in the toilet bowl, using downward pressure on the ball. The other end of the tubing is wedged against the ceiling. The compressed ball prevents water from coming up and applies force to keep the toilet securely pressed down on the floor. This keeps the pressure from the sewer pipe from lifting the toilet off the floor and reduces leaks around the base of the toilet, preventing other water intrusion. Flooding through basement windows from ground level can be addressed by constructing window wells. This involves digging down around the outside of the window and installing a semicircular metal sheet to create a well-like structure. The window well diverts pooling water away from the window. Any rainwater that may fall into the window well will soak into the ground through the gravel at the bottom of the window well, rather than entering the basement. It also helps to have gutters at the roof above the window well. Cracks in basement walls and floors can serve as entry points for water, leading to significant damage and potential structural issues. Sealing these cracks with appropriate products can greatly reduce water intrusion. Crack sealants expand to fill the cracks and stop water from entering. Various types of crack sealants include urethane, latex, and epoxy. Proper preparation of the crack area is essential for effective sealing. This typically involves cleaning the crack of debris, loose material, and old sealants. This can be done with compressed air or water from a spray nozzle or pressure washer. The crack may need to be widened or deepened in some cases to create a better surface for the sealant to adhere to. It needs to be dry before the sealant is applied. It is useful to seek professional assistance for larger or more complex cracks. A good crack sealant looks like a spray paint can with a little button on top. It has a long thin tube which is inserted into the crack. When you press the button, liquid flows into the crack and then expands to fill the crack area. Consider using latex foam crack sealant. It sticks to the concrete and stays flexible. Sump pumps. Sump pumps are useful tools for preventing basement flooding and managing water accumulation. The main objective of a sump pump is to collect water from throughout the basement and eject it to the outside or into the sewer system. One accessory to consider including is a battery backup system. In the event of a power outage during heavy rain or flooding, a battery backup ensures the sump pump continues to work for the time that the battery is rated for. Additionally, homeowners should ensure their sump pump is properly installed, with a suitable sump pit and discharge pipe directing water away from the foundation. Regular maintenance includes testing the pump and checking battery life. In most cases, sump pumps are installed by hammering a hole in the concrete basement floor and digging down into the soil beneath the basement to make a pit. This may not be the best approach. Consider in a heavy rain event over several days, the ground becomes saturated almost like a lake in the soil. With a typical sump pump installation, the pump will be pumping water from the basement floor, and also trying to pump water which is coming into the sump pump pit from the ground below the house. The added load may be beyond its capacity. A better approach to the installation may be to create the sump pump pit in the normal way, but then to insert a 5-gallon bucket into the pit and pour concrete under it and around it, so that groundwater cannot enter into the pit. You can use Sakrete bags. Then the sump pump is installed to draw water from the bucket. Water from the basement floor will run into the bucket and be ejected. Also, the sump pump will not be stirring up and ejecting soil and gravel as in a typical installation. Some sump pump configurations are more complicated and involve piping connections to other drains in the house. Talking with a plumber may be helpful. If the pump discharge connects to the sewer drain, consider including an inexpensive inline backup preventer to keep sewer water from backing up into the sump pump. Diverting floodwater. Homeowners can also minimize basement flooding by diverting outside water away from their house. One effective measure is to add long horizontal extensions to gutter downspouts. These will direct water away from the foundation to prevent it from pooling near the basement walls. Another solution is the installation of French drains, which collect water from the surrounding area and redirect it away from the foundation. These drains consist of perforated pipes in the ground surrounded by gravel or rock, which collect water and safely disperse it away from the house. Additionally, proper grading of the land around the house is important. Ensuring that the ground slopes away from the foundation helps to channel runoff water away from the basement. Homeowners can also consider the installation of surface drains or catch basins to collect excess water and prevent it from pooling near the house. Prevention summary. Preventing flood damage in basements is very possible. It requires proactive measures and the adoption of simple yet effective strategies. These measures include backup preventers in floor drains, using ball valves to block sink drains, blocking toilet backup, plugging small shower drains, creating window wells to divert water away from ground-level windows, reducing seepage from cracks, having an effective sump pump, and diverting water away from the house. It's important to properly implement and maintain these prevention measures to ensure their effectiveness over time. By implementing these inexpensive solutions, homeowners can protect their basements, safeguard their property investment, and enjoy peace of mind during potential flooding events. Insurance. There is a lot to know about home insurance in general. Here are a few important concepts to keep in mind, and then some specific points related to flooded basements. First of all, if you file a claim, you may be told that the damage is not covered in your policy. That may be a verbal denial, or it may be in writing in a denial letter. In any case, your next step is to request a copy of the full policy document from the insurance claims department or from your insurance agent. Not just the declaration pages showing your coverage, but the full policy. Then ask your agent or claims department to send you a text or email with the page and paragraph reference in the policy showing exactly why your claim was denied. If the denial is not specifically supported by the written policy document, it is not valid. Next, your damage may be part of a widespread natural disaster like a hurricane, tornado, wildfire, or flooding. Very often in these widespread events, insurance companies get overloaded with claims, and there are understandable delays. But on the other hand, with all the claims, there are times when insurance companies stonewall their policyholders and hope that they will just go away. We must tell the truth because that does happen. If you are part of a widespread event, you need to be nice and be persistent with the insurance company. Get to know the claims department and supply the required supporting documentation, including good quotes from contractors on the repairs. The way you get paid is with quotes and receipts. In any difficulty with your insurance company, you have two important support resources. One is a non-profit organization which supports policyholders. Go to the website for United Policyholders. They have a great library of short videos on all areas of insurance. On large disasters, they also have teams of people who go and meet with groups of homeowners. Do some digging and get educated about how to work with insurance companies. The second resource is your state insurance commission. Each state has a governing body which oversees insurance companies. You can talk with or meet with the insurance commission concerning your difficulty. You will need to prepare all of the documentation, along with a detailed summary of the situation. The insurance commission will then contact the insurance company and work with them directly. Insurance companies pay attention to the insurance commission. One warning. In widespread disasters, stay clear of public adjusters, unless you are completely disabled, and you have no family or friends to help you with paperwork. Public adjusters and attorneys are the very last resort. Most public adjusters sign contracts with a lot of homeowners and then don't deliver. If you sign up with them, you will owe them a substantial percentage of your insurance settlement whether they do any work or not. One of the risks associated with houses in general and specifically with basements is the potential for sewer backups. Sewer backup insurance and flood insurance, whether as a separate add-on to homeowners insurance or through the National Flood Insurance Program, offers extra protection against the expensive damages caused by backups and flooding. By carefully reviewing policy options, considering exclusions and deductions, and exploring the benefits of bundling insurance coverage, homeowners can make informed decisions to secure comprehensive protection for their valuable investment. Proactive measures, such as regular maintenance, can help reduce the likelihood of sewer backups. Having insurance to cover sewer backup and sump pump failure is a wise precaution. We suggest you meet with your agent to discuss what is covered and what is not covered in certain policy options. A good question to ask is whether the proposed insurance would have really covered the damage you just experienced. Conclusion. In conclusion, restoring a flooded finished basement requires careful planning, proactive measures, and effective collaboration with contractors if you use contractors. Remember that safety, timely action, and attention to detail are paramount during the restoration process. With the right information at your disposal, you can navigate through the challenges, restore your basement, and prevent future damage. Thank you for your attention. We hope you found this presentation informative and useful in your basement restoration project. If you have any further questions or need additional guidance, please call the number on the screen or visit the website. Blessings and be safe.